Hi, I'm Paul, a video editor and trainer. For well over 10 years, I went a bit overboard with my Joomla site. I kept adding features and tweaking things until breaking point. Recently, I went back to the drawing board and I decided to strip everything back to basics. I rebuilt my site using just Joomla's core components and the Asteroid framework thrown in for good measure. That's when I had a light bulb moment. I'd missed some really important fundamentals along the way. So now I'm creating the training series I wish I had had back in the day when I started out. In this series, we'll uncover how Joomla controls website access. Let's introduce the demo environment we'll be using to bring these concepts to life. We'll be working with a demo Joomla site with the Asteroid framework thrown in for good measure. Our demo site is already populated with demo content, including a tours article category with 6 articles. Right now, all access levels are set to their standard defaults, except for a few menu items where we've made minor adjustments. We currently have just one user, that's the administrator, but we'll build on this as we go to demonstrate different facets of our user permissions. Now, the core of this series is to use Joomla's access levels and permissions to control who can see what content and who can perform which actions. We'll begin by closely focusing on controlling content visibility using access levels. This will build a strong foundation before we tackle advanced permissions later in this series. Finally, these tutorials are a good excuse for me to reactivate my guilty pleasure, mind maps. Let's get started. To begin seeing how access levels work in practice, we're going to start by looking at content from the administrator's perspective in the Joomla backend. Go ahead and log into the backend as the administrator, currently the one and only user on our site, and navigate to Content, Articles. This screen shows you a list of all the articles on this current site. You can filter them, for example, by the tours category we just mentioned. Crucially for our purposes right now, this list includes a column specifically labeled Access. This column directly shows how Joomla controls who can see this particular piece of content. Now remember, while we're focusing on articles here, access levels manage visibility of numerous different items across our site, including modules, categories, and menu items. More about menu items later. Permissions, on the other hand, govern actions like creating content or managing users. We will cover permissions in more detail later in this series. But back to the task at hand. Looking at the access level column for our demo articles, most will likely show public. This is the default setting. This means they are visible to everyone who visits the site, whether they are logged in or not. Now, let's select just one article and change its access level. This will let us see the immediate concrete effect on its visibility from the front end. In the backend article list, under Content, Articles, we find the article titled Ultimate Northern Greece. Click on its title to open it for editing. Now in the Articles Content tab, look over here down at the bottom on the right hand side of the screen, and specifically we're looking for the access level settings. These should currently be set to public. Let's change this. We're going to click the drop down and select Registered. And we're going to save and close. Okay, let's go to the front end of the site and view it as a guest user. That's someone who is not logged in. We could log in as the admin, but that's a special case. Refresh the front end, which is displaying our tours category, and we notice that the Ultimate Northern Greece article is now missing from the list. This happened because its access level is set to registered, and only logged in users are included in that access level. A guest user, by definition, is not logged in. So let's change it back now so we can see it again publicly, the article that is. We return to the back end, edit the Ultimate Northern Greece article one more time, and we change its access level back to public. We click, save and close, and go to the front end as a guest user and refresh. The article reappears. This simple experiment clearly demonstrates the basic function of access levels, controlling content visibility based on whether a user is logged in or not. However, seeing the site only as a guest or our administrator account gives us a limited view. To truly understand how different types of logged in users experience the site based on their group membership, we need to add a standard registered user. Let's do that next. To truly understand how visibility works for standard users, we need to create one. The most common default group for basic website members is the registered user group. Let's quickly create a test user account. In the backend, we navigate to Users and Manage. This is the User Manager, where you handle all the user accounts on your site. We have one user as of now, the administrator. We click the New button in the top left-hand corner, and we fill in some simple details for the test user. This is all pretty obvious. We want a name, a username, password, and an email address. Now, before saving, let's just click on the Assigned User Groups tab. Now, you'll see the registered group is already checked by default. And this, of course, is perfect because our user is now specifically assigned to the registered user group. This is all absolute default. Go ahead and click Save and Close. And if you're on a local test server, you might see email errors, but for the purposes of this tutorial and experimenting, developing, it's usually safe to ignore these. So now we have a standard user account assigned to the registered group, ready to help us demonstrate how user groups and access levels control content visibility together. We just created a user account and assigned it to the registered user group. Remember, user groups are absolutely fundamental to controlling both what users can do and what users can see. Now, let's take a quick look at where you find user groups and access levels in the back end and have a look at the default setup. Navigating to Users, Groups, we see a list of Joomla's default user groups like public, guest, registered, and the administrative roles. The visual indentation you see here represents a hierarchy. This hierarchy is particularly relevant to permission inheritance and determines what users can do on the site. But, and this is a crucial distinction, this hierarchy and permission inheritance mainly control what users can do. What users can see on the website is controlled separately and mostly by access levels. Now, this screen lists Joomla's default access levels like public, registered, and special access. Access levels configure what content users can and cannot see. If it helps, you can think of access levels as different passes or keys that are assigned to content or menu items to control their visibility. Now, this is where we really get to the heart of the matter. User groups are assigned to access levels, and we're going to look at defining which groups have which viewing passes. And we're going to take a specific example, that being the registered group. So clicking on access levels and going to registered to edit it, and then we look for the user groups with viewing access tab. This tab is where you define which user groups are included in this specific access level by explicitly checking the box next to the group name. What we're looking at here is currently all default. Joomla's system for viewing access is inclusive. You must manually select the groups that get this pass or key. There isn't automatic inheritance of viewing access based solely on the user group hierarchy. To ensure users higher on the permissions ladder can also see content intended for lower groups, the default setup explicitly includes those higher groups within the access level settings. We have seen how user groups are explicitly assigned to access levels. The final step in this setup is that content items on your website, things like articles, modules, categories, and crucially, menu items are assigned one of these access levels. This assignment tells Joomla which access level pass or key is required for a user to see that specific piece of content. Understanding this workflow is mission critical. A user belongs to user groups. User groups are explicitly included in access levels. Content like articles, modules, or menu items is assigned an access level. If a user's group is checked within the content's access level, they can see it. This chain, user, group, access level, item, is the fundamental mechanism that controls what users can see on your site. We've created our registered user account, our test user, and we've reviewed how user groups and access levels connect. Now, let's test how our new test user experiences the site, especially regarding the visibility of our Ultimate Northern Greece article. Now, building on our earlier demonstration, where registered access concealed the article from guests, we've once again set the Ultimate Northern Greece article to registered in the backend in the access section. So here on the left hand side of the screen, we have our article, and down here towards the bottom, notice the access level set to registered. Now, before logging in to the front end, let's first view the tours category page as a guest user, someone who is not logged in. As expected, the Greece article is hidden. And now let's log in as the test user we created. We're going to find the login form, enter our credentials, and when we're logged in, we're going to go back to the tours category page, and we'll notice that the Ultimate Northern Greece article is now visible. This is because our test user was automatically put into the registered user group, default, nothing changed as such, and the registered access level includes this group. Therefore, users in the registered group can see content assigned to the registered access level. Next, we should log out by finding and using the logout link on our site. If we view the tours category page again as a guest, obviously we're logged out now, as expected, the Ultimate Northern Greece article is again hidden. This is of course because our guest user typically only has the public access level and cannot see content set to the registered access level. So I think this practical demonstration clearly shows that access levels control content visibility based directly on a user's login status and their user group membership. Now, you may have noticed something interesting happening during our testing with our test user. As we logged in and out, parts of the website's menu actually changed. This automatic switching isn't magic. It's access levels at work. So what on earth is actually happening here? Let's take a closer look in the front end. You may have noticed something interesting happening during our testing with our test user account. As we logged in and out, parts of the website's menu actually changed. This dynamic behavior is a key feature of Joomla's access control system in action. Access levels don't just control the visibility of articles or other content items, they also control the visibility of menu items. Now, of course, this is incredibly powerful because it allows you to create dynamic menus that adapt based on who is currently viewing your site. Let's take a closer look at what is actually happening. When we're logged out as a guest user, we see a login menu item in the main navigation. But the moment we log in as our registered user, that menu item disappears and is replaced by a logout option instead. And we will get to the profile menu item very soon. This automatic switching isn't magic, it's access levels at work. To summarize, we've covered the core components of Joomla's user management as they relate to content visibility. Users belong to user groups. User groups are linked to access levels. Content, like articles and menu items, are assigned to access levels. So this chain, user, group, access level, content, is the mechanism that controls who can see what on your site. So our experiment with the article demonstrated this concept in action. When logged in as a registered user, we could see the article set to the registered access level, because registered users can view registered content. When logged out as a guest user, the article was hidden since guest users typically only see public content. We saw this same principle with the login and logout menu items. The login menu item was set to guest access, making it visible only when not logged in. On the other hand, the logout menu item was set to registered access, making it visible only after logging in. Building on this foundation of using access levels to control what users can see, we'll next explore more advanced viewing options, such as making full article content visible only to logged in users, hand in hand with Joomla's read more options for articles. Then we'll return to our profile example, which we had a sneak peek at earlier in this tutorial, to shift our focus from visibility to controlling what actions users are allowed to perform on your site. We'll then repeat this exploration, but with users in more advanced administrative roles, and examine both front-end and back-end options. If you're finding this tutorial helpful, please give it a like and subscribe for more Joomla tutorials and web development tips.